Okay, friends, so now our job is to finally answer this question about the meme, which is, has minimum wage kept pace with inflation? Or is the meme correct? Is somebody earning minimum wage now worse off than they were in 1985 with buying power? And the way you measure buying power is through the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the calculator we just used in the last video. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use the exact same model to figure out what this rate is going to be right here. Now, this rate is going to be the actual CPI rate. I'll put that in CPI. We'll make this a little bit smaller so that fits on one line. There we go. So last time it was not a CPI rate, it was the minimum wage rate of inflation. This is going to be the actual CPI, the Consumer Price Index rate of inflation. This measures the entire economy. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to copy this down below, and then I'm going to go in and start replacing these pieces with what I know. I know, for example, that we started just like we did with minimum wage in 1985 at $3.35. The ending amount, we just calculated, the economy says it should have been $7.33. Whoops, not $78.33. $7.33. Which, if you see, is pretty darn close to what it actually is right now. This is five or so, 8 or 9 cents more. I forget, it's $7.24, $7.25 an hour. We don't know this. We're trying to solve for that, but we do know it took 30 years for it to get there. So we do know that. All right, what we're now going to do is we're going to solve this equation using the build it up, break it down model that we just looked at a couple of videos ago on the board. So the first thing we have to do is divide both sides of this equation by the $3.35. So I'm going to crack open Google, and I'm going to take $7.33. Oops, not 47. $7.33, and I'm going to divide it by $3.35, and that's going to give me a multiplier. There we go, right there. Ignore all these things down here. It's telling me 2.188, so forth, so on, so forth, and so on. That number right there, that number is how many times bigger $7.33 is than $3.35. Okay, I'm going to keep that number there for a second, and I'm going to come over here and do some formatting. I'm going to copy this equation down to the next line, and now I'm going to start dropping in these new numbers. So this one is going to go, oops, not that whole thing, just this. I'm going to copy that into this part right here, hit paste. Oh, I made it really small. I'll make that bigger. Make it size 26. There we go. That's how big that is. And we also know that dividing this off leaves 1 behind, so we're at this point right now. All right. The next step we have to do is get rid of that power to the 30th power. And if you remember what we did, we took the 30th root of this number right here. The 30th root of this number right here. So I'm now going to, I'm going to be a little bit efficient, otherwise known as lazy. And I'm going to simply type 30th root of, and I'm going to put that thing in parentheses right there, like that. And this will take care of that for us too. And that is 1.0264441. I'll copy that. Oh, now you know what I'm going to copy first is I'm going to copy this equation down first. And then I'll replace with the value I just saved. Oops. There we go. We'll copy that in right here, or paste it in right there. And once again, I wish I had thought of that first. Let's increase the font size so we can see it. All right, good. And that took care of the 30th power. So now we're down to 1 plus the CPI rate. And this next thing I think I can handle without Google. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And that tells us that the CPI rate is about 2.64%. That's about, I'll put a squiggly equals in there if you want. Squiggly equals about 2.64%. Now, if you remember, the federal minimum wage rate was not 2.64%. I think it was closer to, you know, I have to recalculate because I don't remember. I'm not going to try to memorize. I know it's the same math, except this is 725 instead of 335. It's 2.61%. 2.61%. So you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the meme actually has a slight point, because the economy inflated between these 30 years at 2.64%. The federal minimum wage inflated at 2.61. The problem I have with the meme is how close these two things are together. Now, this was also 2015. I'm going to have you recalculate in a second, adjusting for inflation forward to 2020, what should the minimum wage be? Because this is a 5-year-old meme now. I'm also going to have you look at minimum wage back to 1938 to the current day. We're going to take a look at that as well. But I think you now have the gist of this. Before we go any further, I think we're just going to kind of stop this video. You now know how to do average rates of exponential increase. That's pretty awesome if you think about it. That's pretty amazing if you think about it. It's not averaging in your typical way. Your typical way of averaging is adding a bunch of things and dividing. Well, that's because that's called an arithmetic average. What you're actually doing here is called a geometric average. Don't memorize that. You don't have to. But if your data is exponential, you now have a methodology for figuring out how to figure out or how to know what the average rate is over a period of time. And that, my friends, is pretty rad.